Yes, you lovely people, if you're not already, make sure you give us a follow over on Spotify.
When I work on something, I am obsessed with it and I have to know everything about it. And I never want to be in a situation where someone says something and I'm like, like what?
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fozcast. We got another banging episode for you today. First though, Tom, are you enjoying this crazy heatwave summer we are experiencing currently?
I absolutely love it. I love it. The hotter the better. And especially at night, that's the only thing is like at night. But I've got an AC unit that I nicked from our office at night time. And I'm sleeping downstairs. Yeah, I am good. But you're not so good.
I'm okay. No, I'm absolutely fine.
Tell me about this.
So, because it's the summer, we're messing about in the garden with the kids. The kids have got electric scooters. I've only gone and fell off. So all these years I've been on the bike and I've been on two wheels. I've managed to stay upright all the way through. I've fallen off this electric scooter, banged my head onto some bricks and rocks and all that kind of stuff. So I've currently got a massive gash on my forehead. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see it. If not, head over there and have a quick look. It's brutal, honestly.
It looks worse than it is.
It looks worse than it is. But honestly, for a few days, I was like a zombie, wasn't I?
A little bit more than usual.
I was like a zombie, definitely concussed. But I'm back to business today, and we have got a banging episode for you because in the building today we are talking to one of the top sports broadcasters in the business. You may have seen her on the darts. It could be talkSPORT, Premier League on a Saturday or a Sunday, or more recently on DAZN boxing. Back-to-back winner of the Sports Presenter of the Year award.
Wow.
It's Laura Woods.
Oh, hi. What an introduction.
I nailed that in one go, you know.
That was so good. I was well impressed. I could see there's a bit of anxiety in your eyes. You're like, get it all out.
Can I just say massive thank you for coming here today, because you have just left talkSPORT Towers, where you told us that you were up at the ungodly hour of what this morning?
4 a.m. this morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So we do thank you for coming today. We know you're busy. You are quite literally the busiest person in show business, in sports business. Today's show, Akin Fenwa, Ali McCoist. Good episode? Yeah,
such a good episode. Ali's just Ali, and he's always like that, and he's like a ray of sunshine every day, and I just adore him. And he's very easy, probably like you two. You know each other so well, so you bounce off of each other, and you know if you need to take a breath, you're probably going to come in and fill that time, and vice versa. And then Bowie, I used to do a podcast with him, a Sky Bet podcast, and so we know each other really well now. We've worked together for a few years, and him coming onto the show, it's just nice because it feels quite familiar. But he's very, you know him, he's very versatile to very many different situations. So when you think he's not going to be sensitive, he's got a sensitive side. And I mean, he's funny, and you know, what he does do very well, he sort of mucks into all sorts of conversations, even if he's not comfortable with them. So we had Gareth Ainsworth on this morning, and they were talking about Motley Crue, and he was like, yeah, I know all about Moxley Crue.
A bit of him. In his words, he said, that's a bit of him. Ali McCoy said, that's a bit of me. You're talking my game here. And he jumped in, Akin Fenwa, with, it's a bit of me as well. And I'm thinking, is it?
It's definitely not a bit of you. But he's wonderful and so warm and generous, and he gets timing, which is like a dream really for a presenter.
I tell you the other thing is as well, is like you get, there's very few of these people around, isn't he? The energy he brings lifts absolutely everybody around him. It could be morning, noon, night. What he brings is like, we came in like, we've never laughed so much on a podcast, and then afterwards, like, just being around him, we were buzzing all day.
It could have been his podcast. He was the one doing all the talking.
it was his podcast that
we
day.
were crying, honestly. He is so funny. He's got a story about everything. Yeah.
I don't know whether it was because basically as he walked in, I was on to my first coffee, a large coffee. And I think the like combination of the coffee and him, all of a sudden I went from maybe like 50% energy to just like 150% energy. I was just bouncing off.
Is that how it works? So like say you get in, what time do you get into work in the morning?
I get in at 5:30.
Wow.
I'll probably try and get in a little, I should really get in at 5, but it's so... That show, even though people think like, it's a 4-hour show and you've got to get up really early to do some prep, you're really only just topping up on your information that you already know, because we all know sport, we all know most of what's going on pretty much. So any kind of breaking news story, I know what it's about, and if I don't, I'll get to know it in the break. I'll read the article, I'll figure it out for myself. But the night before, like when you're in it, you just read this stuff all the time on your phone, on social media, so it's there already. So I usually get in about 5:30.
Is this one thing that you have to be sort of like finger on the pulse thing then?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about England ladies in a minute, Lionesses, sorry. So are you one of those people that have to watch the sport at night, no matter what it is? If you know it's going to be a talking point tomorrow, you have to watch it.
Yeah, but the tricky thing is when the season's in, and even now as well with the games, 8 o'clock kickoff. So you're never done before 10 o'clock, and then your alarm goes off at 4. So really, I remember I had I went to a sleep doctor. And when I first took the job, I was like, look, this is ruining my life. I was like, I can't sleep. Like I had anxiety about missing my alarm. So I wake up every hour pretty much in the night. And she was like, what time are you going to bed? And I said, about 10 o'clock. She's like, right, try and work backwards. Try 8 o'clock. Try and take zinc, I think it was, CBD oil, have earplugs and a face mask and all this sort of stuff. And that works really well. But if you've got Champions League, if you've got Monday Night Football, Champions League Tuesday, Wednesday, you might have to watch something like Europa League on a Thursday.
It's impossible.
There might be Friday Night Football. Every week there's something on, right? And you cannot, if you want to watch that game, you can't get to bed before 10 o'clock.
No.
So you end up, you're just, and also I do it 3 mornings a week. So if I were to get into a routine, by Thursday, I don't want to be in that routine anymore. I want to go out. And then I'm on the opposite schedule. Yeah. It's weird. It's so weird.
So in terms of like when you're in it, you're in it. But do you have any kind of, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, and like it's what we do, you kind of need to know what's going on in the sport world. Is there any particular, how do you consume sports knowledge? Do you have like a routine where you go, right, every morning I look at this website, then that?
No, I almost describe it, it's a bit like osmosis, isn't it? Because it's just, because I follow everything on social media and we're social media addicts, aren't we, anyway?
Of
So I'm only ever really working on the radio is the best research you can have, because any breaking news story is going to come through you that morning. And I listen to it all day. I am a bit of a geek like that. Like I genuinely am a talkSPORT fan. So I will listen to it all day.
A massive sports fan then, obviously, as well.
Yeah, and always have been when I was little as well. And that was probably I'm sure come to that later, but it's just something for me that feels quite normal and quite natural. So I'm following all these outlets already. I'm looking on Twitter, I'm looking on Instagram. So anything really that comes up, if you follow like talkSPORT, Sky Sports, I even follow ESPN. I follow a few of the American sports as well. Sport Bible, all those different things are going to regurgitate that story. Yeah. So it's in your stream or your feed 3 or 4 times anyway. So once you've read it, anything else you're kind of like, oh yeah, I already know that, and it just goes in. And when you're familiar with everything, it goes in a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So.
It's researching's changed, hasn't it? Because of social media, like researching has changed. Like I find, probably a bit old for it, but I go on TikTok, don't post on it.
Yeah.
But I find that it's a really good source for like snippets of information. So it's like little headliners. You follow the right accounts.
Really good source for wasting hours of your life as well.
No, that's my
rabbit hole
justification. So when I'm there at 10 o'clock at night looking at TikTok.
He's trying to tell us that he gets TikTok because they can
it's a work thing.
So when the missus is saying, Tom, what are you doing? You're saying, I'm working.
Working, love. Come on.
What a load of rubbish.
Before we go any further, I don't think Ben prepped you with this question.
I didn't prep you because I like the answer when it comes kind of quickly.
Organically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
let's
organically.
Pretend we live in a world where someone doesn't like Laura Woods, right? So you're a big Arsenal fan, and you walk, I was going to say White Hart Lane.
No, I've got it. She's just walked into a Tottenham pub, right? And she's gone, what do we think of Tottenham? What do you think of... And you've done that, and there's a load of Tottenham fans sort of baying for Laura Woods' blood,
And you get to pick, right? It's getting spicy in there. It's getting naughty. It's kicking off. So you get to pick 3 footballers, past or present.
Not footballers. I think we could do anyone here.
Anyone then.
I think because you're across everything, and you do the boxing especially, you can pick whoever you want.
No, you can't use boxers.
Why not?
Okay, then.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Right, 3 people, everyone, to assist you in this impending kind of like barroom brawl or whatever it is, defending you basically. 3 people.
Patrick Vieira, number 1.
Oh yeah,
he's got a naughty kick, hasn't he?
We had him a few weeks ago. We had him.
Really?
Yeah. No, we didn't. We were doing a hypothetical football fighting podcast, and we had Patrick Vieira. But I said, he's got a naughty kick in him. Yeah,
amazing, right?
Yeah,
just love him so much. But nasty streak, that kind of like tunnel against Manchester United.
Ruthless.
That sort of him against Roy Keane. I would have put. Oh, do I want Roy in there as well?
Cool.
To be honest, that'd be good. Yeah, I'd have both of them.
Yeah, see if they can form a little team unit.
Right? Because if
alliance.
They're protecting a woman, they might be like, we'll come together to protect the woman.
I like it.
And then I'd have Alexander Usyk.
Yes, I think I'd have him as well.
That's big, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not even getting started. If Usyk's there, just chilling at the front, everybody's looking at him going, nah, leave it today, lads.
So
We don't want this.
What are you thinking about the fight coming up?
I thought you meant as in who's going to win.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Well, we're going to win, aren't we?
Yeah, obviously. So that's a solid 3 there.
That's a big solid 3, yeah.
Yeah,
Champion
but
of the
I can
world.
scrap as well, so that's a solid
There you
4.
go.
You got a bit, Laura, yeah.
I've got a bit, yeah.
Yeah?
I've been boxing.
Have
you?
you?
This will make you laugh. So I stand in the studio every week with Tony Bellew, who's, by the way, the loveliest
Really,
man.
yeah.
If you can get him on the podcast.
love that, yeah.
Look at me trying to produce you.
Yeah,
two.
Tony, can
Do
we?
it.
I'll
Yeah,
just
thank
call
you,
him
mate.
up. Tony, mate. So yeah, there was one day, and I was like watching it, and I don't know what it is about me. I don't have OCD at all, but when I work on something, I am obsessed with it, and I have to know everything about it. And I never want to be in a situation where someone says something and I'm like, like what? So that's probably come from when I learnt how to present. I was learning on 10-pin bowling and ping pong and speedway and all these sports that are so niche that no one really watches it, and that makes it even harder for you to research because football's everywhere, and you can go research by going down to the pub and talking to the barman or something like that
for an hour.
Whereas ping pong, everyone was like, "How is that different to table tennis?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is. It's different bats."
Oh, is it?
Like, yeah,
Is it?
Yeah,
Didn't
it's
know
different
that.
bats. Like one's rubber, one's sandpaper, and one you can't spin, one you can. It's for another time. Anyway, so I always got really obsessed with how I research, and I would do like pages and pages of research, and half of it would never see the light of day, but it made me feel comfortable, and that made me confident.
That's how I
Safety
feel.
blanket.
That's
It's
how
a
I feel, and he
safety
mocks me
Exactly.
for it.
No, it's true,
But it makes
though,
you
isn't
feel good, doesn't it?
It's
Feel
all
prepared.
about confidence,
Yeah.
right? And just getting the best version of yourself. So that was how I researched for everything. So when Eddie actually called me up, Eddie Hearn, and was like, "Look, boxing, do you want to, we want you involved. How would you feel about it?" And I was like, well, this is going to upset a few people if I take this. And I looked at it as a challenge as well, because at the time I know boxing. We do it on talkSPORT. I'm what I'd call a casual boxing fan, but I'm not an expert. And I like to be the knowledge in what I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, this is going to be a lot of work because I know how I work. So when I accepted it, that's exactly what I did. I literally just immersed myself in it. And I started working on it with Tony, and I was watching with Tony. I can't remember what fight it was. And I was like, Tony, I need to know more about this. I want to be able to score it myself. And obviously, sometimes even the professionals can't score it properly. So I was like, I want to get to a point where I can score it myself. And I feel like the only way I can do that is if I learn it. Not
From being in the ring yourself to see what that might feel like.
Not to a huge high level, but I was like, that's something I could do. And he was like, yeah. He was like, you know what? I said, you know anyone that can help me, that can train me? And he was like, where do you live? And he was thinking about it. He went, yeah, my mate Chunky, here you go. Text him. And then shared his number with me, and I was like, Chunky, cool. And when I opened it up, I was like, oh, Chunky, and it's James DeGale.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
James DeGale is my boxing trainer.
Wow.
No.
So once a week we go and train together, and it's amazing. And he's so good. If I do something wrong, I feel so guilty because he's like, just want you to be good. And I'm like, I know, but I'm so shit. And someone filmed me the other day, and I was thinking, in your mind, you look a certain way, and then you watch yourself back, and you're like, oh.
Not quite what you was
Yeah,
expecting.
I envisaged myself as Muhammad Ali, and then you're like...
And I was literally throwing my... literally like this. It was dreadful. But I love it. And it's the one thing, again, I guess it's this obsessive brain that I have. I flip between exercising. So some days I'm completely disengaged with it, unengaged, whatever the word is. And then if I switch to something new, like I might do running or might do spinning or something like that. And at the moment, boxing is my obsession.
Is your thing.
It gets me to actually want to go and do it.
I'd say you said it's not OCD. You'd be definitely on the spectrum, Laura.
I'm on the spectrum, aren't
For
I?
a million percentile. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You had the nice intro, so now it's
no,
the...
there's nothing wrong with that.
Diagnosed me.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Some of the people we've met and we've done podcasts with, I'd say 99% are on that spectrum where
Oh my God.
they find something and it is head over heels. I need to know about it. Do you know what I mean? I need to get it. I need to do it. I need to practice it and learn about it. You said, sorry, go on. You were going to say?
I've just realised that I have an illness. So
No, you ain't got an illness. That's
Dr.
that's something to have.
it didn't scare me or anything like that. I kind of sat there and I went, okay, cool, that's your opinion. And people were saying, what does she know about boxing and she's on everything and this sort of stuff. And I was like, cool, okay. And actually, the greatest thing about that is that makes me work harder, but it also gives me the most pleasure when something goes well.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I presented and I hate trending. I hate ever trending. It's only happened a handful of times in my career, and it's usually not for the right reasons.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, when you're trending, you're like, shit, what's happened? Like, what have I done? And I remember I finished my show and I was trending, and I couldn't look at it. And I asked my partner at the time, I said, like, can you look at this for me? And he was like, it's all positive.
Nice.
And I was so chuffed, and I felt good about it because I'd put in the work for it. But those are the moments that you think, if you can visualise getting to that point, then that kind of kickstarts the little obsession with making sure you've got all bases covered and you do the right thing.
I've got to say, I think there's been a few times, I know what sort of things you're talking about. There's been a couple on talkSPORT in the last sort of few months or whatever, you know, the Mason Greenwood thing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And you've had to deal with it live on air. But the way that you've dealt with it, honestly, like say, if ever you wanted to go and sort of like feel good about yourself, the way people respond to that and they can hear it and they can, you know what I mean? You put it across so well, Laura, you do. And that's hard. That's a hard skill, isn't it? Being able to deal with it like that.
Yeah, I don't know. That thing, I was talking to Bowie about that today, actually, because the Mo Farah story came out this morning. Yeah. And it obviously transpired, and this is something I didn't know about until the morning. So I read the articles, I had a little look and listened to his interviews, and he is telling the audience, and we are telling the audience, that he was trafficked as an 8-year-old to the UK, and he was made to be somebody's servant in their house and look after their kids, and he was an 8-year-old child. And it made me quite emotional because I've got a nephew who's 7, and I'm sure like you guys, if you have kids, oh my God, as soon as you sort of can attribute that to something in your life, like, and it can make you quite emotional. So those kind of things, we'd just been doing the section before a talkSPORT talent show where someone was doing an impression of Ali McCoist or Gollum.
One extreme to the other.
We've gone from a Gollum impression to this.
Who did the Gollum impression?
One of the boys, Harry. Really
did he do the Precious one? Precious? Oh, that's horrible.
Wow.
Sorry, that's horrible.
Yeah, wow, Precious. It's horrible, isn't it? It made my skin crawl, but it was horrible, so good. Yeah, that was different, you two as well. But yeah, I said to Bayo after we did the section on Mo, Bayo was like, wow, that was heavy. And I said, like, that's the thing about this show is you can go from like something as silly as a Gollum impression to something as serious as child trafficking. Yeah. And since I took that job over, we've had, lockdown was the first one because we had no sport to talk about, and it was hard. I hated it. Yeah. Like day one of my job was day one of lockdown.
Wow.
So you're begging the world not to judge you on this show because this is never going to be the show. And then Black Lives Matters happened, and I remember speaking to a few of my friends, and I spoke to one of my friends who is black, and I said, I don't feel qualified to talk about this, but I'm the one that has this platform, and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, sure.
But if I do, am I going to be criticised for talking about something I haven't lived? And he was like, no. He was like, talk to me, talk to anybody you want, and find that empathy. And I think empathy is the biggest thing you can have as a journalist, as a presenter, whatever you want to call it, the job I do. I don't even know. It could be anything. I think if you've got empathy for someone and you can get that across and you can use your communication skills, they're almost more important than any of the other skills that people have. I just think that's so key for a talk show like that. So yeah, you get domestic violence came in, transgender athletes, sexism in sport, sexism in business. Like, we've covered so many different topics. And then like the Roman Abramovich stuff came up about the oligarchs, and I was like, oh my God. And you realise how much you're educating yourself. And I think that experience eventually lends itself to not being overawed by a situation and just thinking, oh, you know what, trust yourself. You've done it before. You may not, I don't know anything about child trafficking or how Mo Farah might be feeling, but all you can do is almost represent the audience in that sense.
Just say it from a human, like say empathy is so important. You might not know the facts and figures and stuff, but you can say it on a human level exactly how you see it. And I'm sure there's times where you've sort of semi-put your foot in your mouth a little bit, but it's inevitable. You're going to talk about it and there's somebody going to hear it and go, well, that's not quite right. And nowadays everybody has their own platform, and Twitter for me is as good as Twitter can be at times where, you know what I mean, it's for me, I'm set probably the same as you. It's probably the place where I consume the most information about what's been going on, about what's happening currently, and breaking news. But also on the flip side of it, it can be the most disgusting place in the world, can't it?
Well, especially like you're at we're filming this now and we've got the luxury of post-production, editing and everything else. If there's anything we don't want to talk about, we can snip it out.
We just lost half an hour.
Which may well be. But at the cold face of it, do you ever kind of get, I guess, a bit of anxiety? If you're talking about trafficking or something, do you ever think to yourself, I've got to be really, really careful, because there'll always be someone saying, that's not politically correct, or you said this. Is that something that you think about a lot?
Yeah. The problem with that is the brain does really odd things, right? So if your brain goes, Jesus, don't say this, like it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like my brain's having a laugh with me, and it's like, oh, this will be funny if you just drop yourself right in it. And you never mean those things. And you make odd mistakes. Like when I was learning, I would say stuff sometimes that I know to be false, but my brain, because I was under pressure and because I was nervous, I just come out with it. And I'm like, what? Why did you say that? Like, I'd read a graphic and the score would be 6-0 and I'd be like 6-5. Like, for no reason. Just because your brain just has like a little, I don't know, it's like shortcuts you for some reason and trips you up deliberately. So yeah, that show is a blessing and a curse in that sense, because you are unedited for 4 hours. Yeah. If you're really stuck, there's a dump button. So like the other day I said cock instead of clock. And actually, you know what? That was on the boxing, so I couldn't go back on that one. I just had to own it.
But that's nice. People like that. Like you're not infallible. You're gonna cock up sometimes. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like literally, you're gonna. But as long as you own it and be like, what a dickhead kind of thing, people buzz off that.
I did say one the other day, and I can't say it just in case, because I did actually. We dumped it because I was like, are we allowed to say that? And I could see there's panic across my producer's face, and he just went, dump.
Nope.
So when nope. And then it disappeared.
Wow.
And they were like, thank. And that doesn't happen.
What did it rhyme with? Did it rhyme with cluck or?
No, it wasn't a swear word. It was a description for something.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And we were like, and it was in a quiz where someone said, what do you call blah, 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 blah? And I went, oh, well, don't you call it this? And everyone went,
uh-oh.
Are we allowed
Can't say that.
And actually, in hindsight, I think we are allowed to say it. But this is the point. Like
your life.
You get like wrapped up in like your own, like, oh my God, it's so much red tape. I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
I think the other thing as well though, Laura, is you're paid as the difficulty is you don't want to put your foot in your mouth. You don't want to say anything insensitive on PC or whatnot. But ultimately you're paid to give an opinion as well. So you can't sit on the fence. You've got to kind of be brave and go, no, I'm saying that. Yeah. So there is an element of risk always, isn't there?
Yeah, and breakfast show is the hardest because a lot of the time, so when the European Super League happened, I remember I went to bed and it had just started the night before, and I read this article and I was like, wow, and the more I read the article, the more major I realised it was, and I was like, shit, like, we're going to have to talk about this first thing in the morning.
Big deal, this.
And I stayed up all night because I was like, I need all the information, because not only are things like empathy and communication important, facts are really important. And what's the point in listening to the radio if you're not getting any new information or opinion? That's like, I take that seriously. So I was like, Jesus, I was trying to consume all this information and then I was trying to regurgitate it in my own words, so that, because you can never talk in somebody else's language, it has to be your own. So I was doing that a lot. And every time something big happens, I used to almost write myself a script to read. I'd be like, look, I've prepared something. Like, you know,
like word for word almost.
Yeah, I'd almost be like, I've prepared something. Here you go, guys, I'm going to deliver it. And then as I got more confident, I just did bullet points. And then now I don't really use them a lot. But every now and then I might like write a few things like to make sure I don't miss it. And when that stuff happens, you think, I haven't got the kind of the bonus of listening to other people before.
Yeah.
Like, you're the first show. So if your opinion doesn't land well for whatever reason, like the rest of the station is going to go, well, going to avoid that. And then I'm not saying they take our opinions, but it gets, I think, you get more information the later on in the day and the more that the news story develops. Breakfast, you don't always have that luxury. So you
have to make the opinion, and you have to hopefully
live and die by
it. Lands as well, and it be the consensus.
Yeah.
Like,
who's got the hardest job at talkSPORT?
Who's got the hardest job?
Is the person that has to go up against Simon Jordan.
Oh my God.
Like, when you talk about being prepared and facts, right?
Yeah. You better come prepared.
You better come and bring it.
Prepared.
Do you know what, though? Like, what I adore about Simon, and he's a dear friend of mine, is this is good and bad. He doesn't care what you think.
Yeah.
He just doesn't care. And he will sit there, and I know he does this. He will sit there and he'll listen to our show and he'll go, how can I disagree with that?
Yeah.
And then like I saw him when I left the studio this morning, and someone went to me, Simon. I went, no. I said, please tell me he's not going to disagree with the Mo Farah thing. And then they were like, maybe. And as I walked past, and I went, that child was 8 years old. So if you've got anything to disagree with, and he was like, no. Anyway, he went on air and he disagreed with. What did he say? He said, I just don't see why we all need to know about it. That was his disagreement. And he will live and die by this. And there was another one when the first current footballer came out as gay. Jack Daniels?
Yeah.
No,
Jake Daniels,
Jake
yeah,
Daniels,
yeah.
that's it. Unless we're drinking Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Jake Daniels. And his argument was, no one, like, we don't need to know about it. No one cares. And it obviously, it is important.
Of course.
Because you're not, for Simon Jordan, it doesn't matter. But for somebody who is gay, that person there, and I'd worked with Tom Daley a few weeks before, and I'd said on my show, Tom Daley coming out, people came out afterwards and said, he saved my life.
Yeah.
That's why it's important.
Exactly.
It might not be important to Simon or someone like that, but look, he's box office. And if we ever had a show together, it would be carnage because we disagree on everything.
Nah, I don't know. Okay. But I still think you'd back your corner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course,
because
yeah.
the thing is with you, Laura, you're not a bad person, and I don't think you've got badness in you. So whatever angle you're coming from, you would probably come from more of a human level, yeah. Whereas I think Simon would probably approach it from more of a functional black and white, and it's digits on the paper, and it has to fit this model, and that's it. So it would be box office though. It would be absolutely.
Wouldn't it?
One person who does not seem to have any filter at the minute is as we were watching, as most of us were, the Lionesses play football last night. And halfway through the game, I've put a bit of a tweet out, buzzing off the ladies. They're on fire, scoring goals for fun.
So we shot with them. We shot with three of the girls, didn't we?
So,
Beth Mead, Lottie Wubben-Moy and
Jordan
Nobbs.
Yeah.
Recently, last couple of months.
We did a football video, and honestly, they're top class. Like they're scoring goals all the time. Like honestly, I'm swearing at them and stuff because they were killing me. Anyway, so Alan Sugar, Lord Sugar on Twitter, has put a tweet out halfway through the game saying, "I'm watching the women's football and noticed that all the commentators are women. I also note when men's football is on, there is a symbolic female commentator to cover the broadcaster's ass. Should I complain there should be a male commentator in women's football?" And this is just foul. So flat out there, Laura. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's like he has to get a dig in. That's what it comes across as, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a massive ego trying to insert himself in something that has really, you can have an opinion, that's fine. Base your opinion on fact to start with, because you'll end up looking like a donut, and that's what happened here. And I saw it and I was like, oh. And there's always a part of me that thinks, I'm just going to reply. And I thought, you know what, I don't even need it.
Hold off,
I don't
breathe.
even need it in my life. It's fine. And everything I wanted to say had already been said.
Gabby Logan said it anyway. Gabby Logan got in there quick anyway. Yeah.
But that was the funniest thing is like, if that was a genuine point, then maybe we'd all go, yeah, he has got a point. Yeah, because I don't like it when we go, right, because that's the women's sport, it's only for women. The same as with men's sport and whatever. It's the right people for the right jobs and that sort of stuff. You've got to be an expert on it. You've got to have done your research on it, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody that works on every sport has to do their research. And the only reason they're through the door is because they've shown that, and they've shown that they are adequate to work on that job or above adequate. And when he tweeted that out, the fact that the commentator was a man on it anyway.
Oh, no.
And then the best bit was he wrote one after that where he literally was like, you know what? I'm going to go down on my ship. Like, I'm literally going to, like, I'm going to go out screaming and like all sorts. Because he basically came out and said, I see that the BBC have got Ian Wright in the commentary.
Yeah.
Like, they must have heard me. And I'm like, what? Ian Wright literally has been the biggest advocate for the women's game
since day one.
Years,
from day
right?
one, honestly, from day one.
We work together when we cover the World Cup qualifiers for the women, which has been built leading up to the Euros. We've worked together almost every week on every single one of those games. There's nobody more qualified, I think, that is a man to work in the women's game than him.
Totally agree.
He's just so wonderful. And he sent out the best response where he was like, wow, he was like, Alan, the fact that you've had to double down on this when you could have just gone, my bad, I'm completely wrong.
Yeah.
The fact that he's had to double down on it and he's still getting it wrong. And Ian Wright was like, they must have heard you because now I'm on the game. Like, thank you to you, basically.
Appreciate that, Alan.
I really appreciate you getting me work. But it's so wildly... ignorant on so many different levels for a smart man as well.
Yeah.
And that's what gets my goat. I'm like, you know what? You don't have to like it. If you want to watch it, and he's obviously watching it. And Righty said that as well. He was like, thanks for watching. That's great. But you don't, same with people who reply to your tweets, you don't have to like it, that's fine. But there's a lot of things I see on Twitter, and when I don't like something, I just scroll on. Like, if there's something that I'm not interested in, I don't watch Coronation Street, I don't watch EastEnders, but it might be trending, but I don't go on it and go, oh, Coronation Street, shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, this is why I didn't know Jack Duckworth had passed away 10 years ago, apparently. That was something I put my foot in on the radio. Anyway, but I don't feel the need to... Ricky Gervais said it. He was like, you know, like something about, he had an analogy about learning to play guitar. And it's almost like Ricky goes like, I'm learning to play guitar, and someone else goes,
so funny.
I don't want you to learn to play, or I don't like guitar. And he's like, it's fine, you don't need to learn it.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He was in the village. He goes like, if you see a poster in the village hall saying "learn to play the guitar," you don't go in and go, I don't want to play the fucking guitar. Like, just
don't.
But it comes like with Lord Sugar, like it comes from a place of privilege, right? And it is ignorance. And, you know, you hear the old story, oh, yeah, came from nothing and I sold, you know, in the market and whatever. But until, like you were saying with Mo Farah, until you have a little bit of empathy or it comes from somewhere to you. Like we were talking earlier on, and I'll be completely honest, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I'd never speak bad of the women's game, but I was kind of a bit like, you know, I was kind of neither here nor there. And then what really, really perked it up for me and was watching it. Meeting some of the girls, watching more of it, seeing standard and how interesting it was. Ultimately, it's a game of football. Yes. And then secondly, I've got 2 boys, young boys, but I've got 2 nieces that both play, and first-hand seeing what it means to them and to have, because my niece having Declan Rice as a role model, it's cool, but it's different. Yeah. And having them watch Beth Mead or Lucy Bronze, whoever it may be, and you see that firsthand what it means to them, it's massive. Yeah. It's so important. They genuinely inspire them in a way that is different between I think men and boys.
This is why I think we were buzzing to get you on today as well, Lord, because the seeing the women do what they do, like watching the girls last night was outrageous, and their intensity, ability, skill, all that kind of stuff, it was just incredible to watch. But for a young girl to be sitting at home to watch it, to see that that's achievable is exactly what you're doing in sports broadcasting. It's kind of, you can do this, you know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when you were younger, was this ever kind of an option for you? Is this something you ever strive to do?
I used to watch Sue Barker. I loved Unquestioned Sport. Gabby was always up there, always there. And I didn't look at them. This is probably the biggest compliment I could give them. I didn't look at them as females doing their job. They were just women doing their job. I never knew that this job was going to be there for me, or that I could do it. And even when I first went into talkSPORT, the breakfast show was never something I ever even considered, because it was Alan's job. Oh, yeah. And if it wasn't Alan's job, it was somebody else's job.
It's a man's job, basically. Right? Yeah. That morning slot is a football hardened man talk, isn't it, kind of thing?
Yeah, proper. And then one thing I do know I can do, because I've got brothers and obviously my dad, and I've grown up in that environment where...
Sporty family.
Yeah, they're all sporty. My dad was really good at cricket. My brothers played rugby and football. I actually, when I was younger, used to play rugby. Yeah. We all were in the same club together. My mum was the coach.
Nice.
So we grew up in that environment. And I always, every significant point in my life has been in some way inspired by or because of sport. So all of that confidence, I think, that I got when I was younger, and I know that there's parallels. Like I remember walking into school, and I was the only girl on that rugby team. The rugby team was outside of school, and one thing that I had, it gave me like a certain level of like, I was like, I'm the shit. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, I'm walking in school and I play rugby and I could probably beat all you boys. So I've always had that. I don't know what that is, but
competitiveness, kind of a bit
maybe,
of also,
just being able to sort of own who I am in a male space, it's never scared me. And then I remember moving through school, I was always members of hockey or netball or something like that, and I was good at it. And it was the one thing I think that I didn't lose my concentration in. My brain it can be, at school, it was so difficult for me to focus on anything. But sport was the one thing that always maintained my concentration. And then when I went to university, I made all my friends through the sports teams. And then my job was sport. So there's just everything really, all my significant times in my life, if I trace it all back, was somehow surrounded by that and that community and that kind of comfort that you get in taking part in sport or in watching sport or something. So I kind of never really thought, I wanted to be a writer. I loved it. But when I went and did work experience at Sky, that for me was like, wow. Yeah. And I wasn't even reporting or presenting. I was learning. I was a runner and I was learning how to produce, but from a really low level. Yeah. So, and I loved it. I was like, this is wicked. And it was just, I just knew it was
what's the biggest bit of advice you could give to the young Laura Woods out there? Not you particularly, a young waiting in the wings Laura Woods to try and get to where you are now. What is the best piece of advice you can say to them?
You can absolutely protect your own product. So if you imagine yourself as a product, I know that seems like a bit of an adult word, but the best thing you can do, I tell you what, let's make it easier. Say, for example, you're a plant.
I like this.
What am I even doing? This is because I've been up since 4 a.m. Like, imagine you're a plant, right? And the best thing you can give that plant is all the nutrients and stuff you get from like water and sunlight, and then it grows and it blossoms. If you imagine that's you and you want to make yourself the most, the best version you can be and the best person for that job, read everything, absorb everything, give yourself as much practice. Like, I always used to think it was wild that I wanted to be a presenter, right? But I had no experience. So the first time I ever got a chance to do a screen test, I was shocking. Like, it was...
Have you still got this video, by the way? Please. No. You need to put this out on the internet.
If this is ever dug up, like, actually, you know what? They should take it and show it to people.
Yeah,
because,
look what you can do. Yeah, look at the state of this.
I don't believe there is anyone on this planet that is ever... I can present straight like that. You have to be shit to begin with, right? Because it's not natural. Yeah. And I can't read an autocue. I thought I had dyslexia. I read it and I was like, well, I've just diagnosed myself.
6'5".
Right, I did. It was just dreadful. So what, I'm on the spectrum. I got dyslexia. I got all sorts of things. But I was so bad. But I had no confidence, and it killed my confidence for about a year. I was like, I'm never going to do one of those things again. I'm going to focus on being a producer. That's the dream. Done. Dead. That was how much it upset me. And then I was like, producing's boring, and I started recording myself doing pieces to camera. I'd read a newspaper. I'd spend a minute delivering it to camera without saying or ah, and it was annoying. And it was like my own homework every night. And it was tedious, and I was shit. But gradually I got better. And then I started doing those YouTube videos for darts. And that's actually, it's like learning to drive a car. You have to have the miles. You have to just say, you have to keep doing it. So if I could tell myself any advice or anyone of me, protect yourself by giving yourself the best opportunity, by just bulking up on knowledge. Like, make it your obsession. If you want to do it, you have to be obsessed. If you want to be the best at something, don't you? It's the same for you learning football. You're
repetition.
Not just going to be good at
just keep repeating it, and boom, you'll get it eventually.
Yeah. Make yourself completely bomb-proof to anybody else saying you don't know what you're talking about. Get to the point where you do, and you know more than them, and then they can't say anything. You can correct them, which is the best feeling. And then give yourself the best opportunity by just practice. You know,
you said the and the ah thing, right? Yeah. It's a massive thing. If you watch, if some of my interviews I used to do back like when I was in my 20s and stuff, right? I would watch them, and the ums and the ahs are outrageous. It's that pausing word where you got to think of the next thing to say. You'll go
safe word.
It's your safe word, and you will always say it every single time. And I've watched some interviews back where I say it. Oh my God. I'll get 3 or 4 words out, and then I'll say it. 3 or 4 words, then I'll say it. Watch any footballer on the telly nowadays, and I'm not speaking bad at them. You know, or like, or literally.
It's literally. It's a mechanism,
literally is the worst word. My daughter says literally every word, literally, and I'm going, stop saying literally. Stop saying literally. Please stop saying literally.
What brought that to my attention as a mechanism is Luke Ayling, because he suffers with stammer.
Of course, yeah.
And I watched an interview with him recently. It was an old interview. Yeah. And he said that someone pulled him up on it, saying, having a pop at him. Having a pop at him, going, and he said, not a lot of people know that I've got a stammer. And he goes, what it is, it's my safe word. Yeah. He know, and this is obviously for I don't know if the condition's the right word, for a stammer. Yeah. So whilst people do it naturally, Luke does it intentionally
Yeah.
because it's his safe word and he knows he can get it out and that gives him time. And you just think, actually, when you then put that into the real world, it completely makes sense, doesn't it?
It's why people in arguments, in big fiery arguments, swear. Because then the space of time it takes you to finish that swear word, you've thought of what the rest of your argument
And excitement.
Is that what it is?
Right? That's what it is.
God.
And excitement
the
as well.
Having a go
Yeah.
When we get
I've just pictured it. I can see it. It's exactly
when
what
we have
happened.
like an idea or something, we're quite high energy between us anyway, and like we'll kind of have an idea, and then you go, oh, it's effing this, because your brain can't keep up, can it?
That's
so you're just
exactly it.
throwing an F-bomb.
Yeah.
But with the confidence, sorry, Laura, after you.
No, I was just going to say, I have it too. I still do it to this day. Literally is one of them.
Literally.
And there's another load. If I really thought about it,
You know.
there's loads, and people, your producers start to pick up on it, and they're like, oh, that's a safe word.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like that sounds dodgy, like I'm saying it in a dungeon, like safe word, red. Sorry, I don't know anything about that.
Because our conversation today didn't get off to the best of starts, did it? There was a little bit of miscommunication where I said to you tonight, I was like, like your like night routine with like going to bed early and getting up early for the morning show, I was like, that must mess with your social life, right? And you misheard that,
That's
didn't you?
sexual.
But the
That
problem
says
with
more about me than you, though, doesn't
the
it?
thing is, you said my sex life as you're eating a banana.
It was like a perfect.
Oh God, I just did that then.
It was like a
if you want,
carry-on.
that was horrible.
Can you imagine if I'd have you probably thought, what the fuck is, I've just met this guy 15 seconds ago. What is he on about?
I was going to say, you're absolutely right. Let's talk about that.
Can I just quickly come back to when you said about confidence? So you said about having the confidence, because this is something that, like when me and Fozzy started the podcast, it was a little bit daunting for me. I've never been on TV, never been on anything like that.
Yeah.
And you start it off and you kind of go, oh dear. But once you start doing a few episodes and get into the swing of it, confidence breeds confidence, right? Because like people say now, do you get anxious about doing a podcast? And I think, anxious? No, we just kind of go. But it's because you start doing it. But then you start breaking it down and saying, because you have that confidence again, well, all you're doing is going and having a chat.
Yeah.
And do you find
You break it down, yeah.
Yeah. And do you find that as the more you do, like, boxing, for example, you kind of, do you get to a point where you think, I can do anything now?
Yeah, I do actually, because the best way I could describe it is the first time you ever see a running order in TV, the first time I saw it, it was the words all jumbled up, like, because there's so much and it's all split up into minutes, right? 2-minute chat, like titles at the top, opener, 2-minute introduction chat, graphics, Premier League table or something like that. Last 5 fixtures, next 5 fixtures, more chat for 3.5 minutes, break. And then there's another couple of parts and then you throw to the game. And I was like, what is that? I was like, oh my God. And then the way I got
What,
my
just
head around
daunting?
it,
Like it just,
so
okay, daunting, yeah, okay.
I couldn't absorb the information, but I now I'm like, well, no, of course you couldn't, because you'd never done it before. So I used to break it down. I'd take a pen, and every time something would happen on the telly, I'd tick it off. I'd put a scribble through it. And I still do that now. So I still do it with my running orders on talkSPORT. I don't need to, because the running orders change so much. You barely ever use them anyway. So something happens, I scribble it off. We work in 15-minute sections in talkSPORT. 50 minutes, tick it off, break. You know, you've got like 15 minutes to fill and all that sort of stuff. So that kind of way of understanding something then gave me confidence that the hardest things I've ever had to understand in my life, I eventually understood them. So the hardest shows that I've ever had to do in my life, the first time you ever present a live show, wow, that's scary.
Yeah.
Then you do it a few more times and you're kind of like, they're actually all quite similar. And even if they're different sports, they're all quite similar. It's just that some of them might be viewed by more people, or they might be on sports that are deemed to be bigger than bowling, which is impossible because it's the biggest sport in the world. But you find ways of making everything bite-sized, and you find ways of, I find ways of just absorbing things easier. But confidence is the biggest thing. Because the difference, if you go back and listen to the first podcast you ever did, I bet your voice sounds different. And that's probably because the first time you broadcast and the first interview that you might have ever done as a player, you probably put on a posh voice.
100%,
right?
yeah.
And that's your TV or your radio voice. Yeah. And then gradually, when you get more used to it, you're like, oh, it's meant to be my voice, but you're so constricted by fear.
Your head's just
nerves.
boggling
You're
everywhere.
Like,
it's mad, isn't it?
And the day, as a presenter, the day that I was like, that's my voice, I was like, I'm actually a much better presenter than I thought I was.
Finally found your voice.
Yeah,
That's
you literally
nice.
find your voice.
Yeah. What's it like for Laura Woods on a day-to-day level, on a day-to-day basis now? Because I've seen a few videos. So the darts, okay, when you're doing the darts, right? The one in particular I'm talking about is you're sitting there having a cup of tea. I hope you've got some like whiskey or I pray you've got something good in there, right? And you've got literally the whole of the auditorium just sort of, what is the song they're singing? It's incredible. But I can imagine for you though, like that's you. If you're going to the shop, do you know what I mean? You're getting noticed now, aren't you?
Yeah, but less than you think. Like, it's really nice. The darts is, oh my God, it's like my favourite place on earth. And that show, the World Darts Championships, was the first show I ever worked on at Sky.
Yeah.
So it had like a bit of a significance for me. And I always worked behind the scenes until I got the chance to report and then eventually graduated to presenting. So I think I've done 2010 was my first World.
Wow.
And the one that we just did was 22. So what's that, 12?
Yeah.
Good maths.
Quick
12,
maths.
yeah, quick maths. So it's just like my happy place. I love it. And when that show is on, I used to like walk home because my mum used to live nearby, so I'd stay with her for the Christmas holidays and whatever, and it was great. And I'd walk home, and obviously if you get stuck in a darts crowd, that's the end of your night. You are not getting anywhere quick. But in general, like, I don't really, if I pop down to the shop or something like that, it might happen every now and then, or someone might look for a little bit longer. They might be like, I recognise her. Did I meet her last weekend? And it might take them a while or something like that. But if I go to a sporting event, if I go to football or Cheltenham.
If it's your
like
arena, if it's a sporting arena,
it's your
you're in
demographic,
trouble.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we went to, when we go to football games and stuff, when you're not playing and stuff, you put a footballer in amongst football fans and it's absolute murder, isn't it? But then you put you in a different environment and you might not get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What's the sort of normal response from people? Is it normally fairly sort of good and hello, love your work, all that kind of stuff?
It's really nice. Like I'm really lucky like that. I think talkSPORT's helped with that massively because people get to know your personality. And the more you hear someone, you end up warming to them. I always think this. Whenever there's a big change in something, people go, I don't like change and I don't like that. It's your fault. And then they get used to you and they go, she's not that bad. They might like it. They might listen for longer. And then I am lucky with that. I don't know what it is, but I really appreciate that. I have a really nice following. And of course you're going to get shit on social media. It just happens. But it's usually from people that are so deeply upset with their own lives. As soon as you box them up like that, they're like, actually it's not that bad.
Sorry, go on, keep going.
But then, so my general interaction with people that listen it's really nice and it's really positive. I like it.
Just when people call up and listen, so we were talking earlier on about facts, right? Being, if you're going into an argument or something, one of the funniest things for me to listen to, right? So you're on the radio and you're forming an opinion and it's based on facts. And one of the funniest things for me to listen to is when you get a football fan ring up, Spurs
a die-hard football fan.
Come on, maybe. I was watching some of the interviews, I was watching YouTube last night, and I just think to myself, so they've got, it's emotion, right?
Yeah.
And it's not based on facts. And I think, lamb to the slaughter. Absolute lamb to the slaughter. And it could be you, it could be another one, it could be Jason Cundy, I always think's really good at it actually. And they'll go and they'll just, you yourself, you'll break it down and go. And then the Spurs fan, you know, the one I'm on about the other day, and they were going, big small club mentality Arsenal, and you were going, well, look at Spurs then. So what have you won and this, that and the other, and factual. And they're saying, but we've had Mourinho and Conte and whatever. One, you sacked him. Two, Arteta's won some silverware. And you must think when these people come on, like, obviously, don't get me wrong, you're not in the game of embarrassing people, whatever. But you must think, you're right, I'm having you here.
Well, sometimes that one, I was like, he's tiring as well because you're up so early. And when he came on, he had such a tone that I was like, this is so Spursy. I was like,
Spursy, I love it.
Spursy.
Love it.
It's a thing.
Just immediately, I was like, how? Because normally, like, it's quite easy to stay calm. And like you say, I'm not in the business of wanting to embarrass anybody or anything like that. But that one pissed me off.
You want to have them off a little bit though. Like there's a line,
yeah?
There's a line,
you're
exactly,
like,
yeah.
Excuse me.
All right, I'll turn it round.
Yeah, and his points as well were that you have a small club mentality. We had Maurizio Pochettino, we had Jose Mourinho, and I'm like, you sacked both of them. You sacked Jose before a cup final, like your only piece of silverware that you could have won for years and years, and you sacked him before the final. And we actually won some. Look at me going again. Wow.
I know.
No,
You're like the caller there. You
I'm
just
the
turned into a
caller,
caller there, Laura. What are you doing?
Just stoked you up there, haven't we?
See what you did. It's clever.
We've got some questions, okay, Laura? You're absolutely killing it. What an absolute superstar, by the way. Double random questions all over the shop, okay?
Is this your quick fires?
Not necessarily. I'm just skirting around stuff. Have you ever had a starstruck moment? Have you ever met somebody where you've gone, woof?
Yeah, I did it when I met Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think the first time I worked with him was on the Carabao Cup final. It was semi-finals, actually. It was the Manchester Derby. And it was at Old Trafford. And he was one of the guests. And I don't know if this is right or wrong, but as a woman, there's always a bit of nerves. Is the person that you work with going to be somebody that
I understand.
Women in this arena, or someone you've got to win over? And I always look at it like that, like, because you can win anyone.
You just
over.
don't know, though, do you?
Yeah.
You don't know going into it.
Don't know.
Yeah.
And I'd only ever heard good things, but not about that specifically. So I walked in and I just was very nervous. I was like, oh shit, if I mess this up, he's gonna never want to work with me again. And he was so charming and so welcoming. And we did the top of show and it was wicked. And then during the game, Michael was in there as well. And it was freezing cold. There was a little heater behind us and he was like, make sure you stand with the heater. And the three of us were just standing there and I was watching the game and I was like, like,
this is cool.
How am I here? It's like Mike is there, Roy Keane is there, and I was like, I'm just going to test the waters. And I was like, so and he said something, and I went, why is that then? And then he was so fluid and open and generous with his information, and I sit there and take notes because why would I even try and be the expert? I'm not the expert. My job is to get the best out of him, and I just sat there and I just asked him questions the whole game, and it was wonderful. And I've worked with him once or twice since then. Same thing happened. I find him almost like, I find him very, you gravitate towards him.
Yeah,
okay,
like
he's that kind of presence.
He's like an enigma, though, isn't he? He's like enigmatic. That's the word, isn't it? Yeah.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's a big softie, though, basically.
Yeah. What about you, Fozzy?
Yeah?
What have you ever had a big starstruck moment?
Oh God, I don't know.
Any of the million managers that you've had?
That was just last season.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. No, I don't think I've ever had massive starstruck. I think like we met Nelson Mandela once when we was at Man United. So we was out in South Africa and we actually got to go and sort of shake his hand. Hello, nice to meet you, Mr. President. And that was one moment which I even remember doing it and thinking, this is like bonkers. This is Nelson Mandela. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a bit ridiculous. But I don't know. I think because you're in that sporting arena kind of thing, anytime you come up against somebody or you're playing with somebody, it's just you know how to operate it. Do you know what I mean? I think as I evolve into the media a bit more, maybe I might come up against something where I'm thinking, I don't know how quite to sort of deal with this person or something like that. But you'll just learn it as you go, don't you? Just sort of, have a nice time, smile and that, and you'll be all right.
One of these days you're going to meet someone and go, oh my God.
Oh shit.
And it'll be someone you didn't expect.
Yeah.
It'll be like a really like D-list celebrity. You'll be
It's
like,
personal.
Oh my God,
it's personal to you, isn't it? Like if it's someone you followed for years as a kid or an obscure, but if they were a hero,
someone off Love Island or something like that.
Exactly. I was like that with Ray Parlour. Of all the people, all the Invincibles that I'd ever met in my life, Ray was the last one. I met Emmanuel. Actually, I melted when I met Emmanuel.
Really, yeah.
God, he's everything and more that you want.
Really? It's the big long blonde hair in it, to be fair. He is a double handsome man, isn't he?
And the first World Cup final I ever remember, 98, France-Brazil.
Yeah.
And he scored in it. And obviously being an Arsenal fan as well, his career with Arsenal and everything, he was always one of the ones that I remember. And so when I met him, I was like, this is incredible. But I hadn't met Ray Parlour. And then eventually, I've just loved him. Eventually, when I met him, I was like, oh my God, he's exactly what I wanted him to be.
You just know he's going to be, he has to be like that.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Have you had a night out with him?
Yeah, many. Brilliant.
Good
Electric?
Electric?
Like, huh?
Electric?
Yeah, everything and more. Like the first time I ever met him actually was in Portugal for the Sir Bobby Robson Celebrity Golf Classic. It's when I met Alan Brazil for the first time as well. And I just attached myself to those two.
That's a heavy night.
Don't blame
I
you.
was just by the side. I remember sitting there, and Alan was in this deck chair. We were by the beach in the Algarve. Me and Ray Parler were sat on the floor next to, for some reason, maybe the chairs had gone or whatever. We were sat on the floor next to him like children looking up at him. Alan was like, do you want a drink? And I was like, I'll have a daiquiri. He got me a pitcher of daiquiri with a straw in it. And I sat there listening to them tell stories, and I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened.
I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this all the time.
I never told them. It was a week before I had my audition at talkSPORT.
Wow.
And I never told them because I thought, I don't want them to think I'm like, oh, I'm
schmoozing or...
Yeah, I just wanted to get drunk with them.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely brilliant.
Okay.
That's how you judge a person, isn't it?
Following on from the Emmanuel Petit one then, first teenage crush.
Oh my God, you're going to laugh at my teenage crush.
No, everyone's is different and everyone's are random.
Was it
honestly.
the long blonde dreadlock guy on Bondi Beach that I was researching to you last night?
Gladiators.
Trawling through YouTube.
Oh my God, my French hippie.
Yeah, that's the one.
Where's that?
What was he?
How have you found this?
Julian.
Julian, yeah. I was watching YouTube till about 2 a.m. last night.
Some good research,
That's a deep dive, that one.
I'm on the same school of research as you, by the way.
We don't have to get worried or anything. This isn't weird or anything, no?
No, I promise.
My God.
This was when I went
Benty had the
travelling.
same level as this as well. Okay. It's all
Yeah. Are we worried about him? Oh yeah, definitely worried about him. Yeah. No, that was my French hippie lover that I met on. Yep, you're right, Bondi
there
Beach.
You go.
Yeah, Julian. He had long blonde dreadlocks. I have an obsession with long hair. Right. So my first love. Do you remember David Bowie?
Yeah,
of course.
Do you remember? Did you ever watch The Labyrinth?
Yeah,
of course.
Weird,
like spiky long.
Yeah, it scared me. That film. It used to scare me so
Mad
much.
film.
That film. Yeah.
Oh, it was brilliant.
Yeah,
wasn't
it was good.
I still
Yeah, it
watch
was.
to this day. So he was probably my first one. I used to love Prince, and then obviously it's the likes of Ray Parler. As I got a bit older, do you remember Castro Giovanni?
No.
Italian prop.
Yes.
Yeah. He looks like a bear. Him, and then basically anyone with long hair is
Yeah. So all of them, not just one. There's about 10 in there. Then I like it though. It's nice.
Big, manly, long-haired
Got
groups,
you.
right?
That's nice.
And what was the French guy? Sebastian Cheval?
Yeah,
Sebastian, the number 8.
He was another one.
My God.
Seabass, yeah.
Genuinely,
That was
you're
his
in my
nickname, yeah?
head right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Seabass.
You're making
His
this
nickname
up.
was Seabass, I promise you.
Was it actually?
Yeah.
I think he was one of my crushes, actually.
He was a
Blimey.
monster.
Cheval, he was incredible.
Do you remember
What a guy.
2011? When 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe it was 2009. Do you remember the World Cup in France?
Yep.
England, South Africa in the final. So it would have been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2007 would it have
7.
been? Yeah, in France. We went over there, me and my uni mates, and they had posters of the French rugby team up on the walls. And Chabal, there was a life-size one of him, and I was like, I had about 1 billion pictures with it.
Yeah, he was a Hulk of a man. Because they did New Zealand in the semis, didn't they? They did the All Blacks in the set. Didn't they batter him? Was that 07? Anyway.
Did they batter them or did we? Oh, no, they knocked
they
them
did,
out.
'cause,
You're right. Because then everyone was like, wow, New Zealand are out, we're going to win. And we bloody lost. Happened again then, didn't it? The last one.
Yeah.
Bloody although we knocked New Zealand out and then we lost again in the final to South
Africa.
didn't we,
Yeah,
the
that's
last
right.
one?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I love how these questions tangent off.
I've got a question.
Is this quick
No, I do.
fire?
I love it. I
Let
do.
me quick
This
fire.
is what it's supposed to do.
Can
These
I
are
ask the
just how it
question I
goes.
asked you earlier on?
Go on.
What is the best football match you've ever seen?
God, that's hard because there's been so many. Do I have to have been to it live?
No.
It could be TV. Just the best football you go think, just wow.
Do you remember? I'll say this and then I'll remember a million others that I want. But do you remember there was that week a couple of years ago where Spurs beat Ajax?
Yeah.
Champions
Oh my
League.
God.
What he said earlier on.
Stop it.
Same thing. I asked
We
him
did
the
a podcast
same.
earlier and it was the same
No,
answer.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was wild.
Because I
wasn't it?
guarantee you remember where you were and the
Yeah.
buzz of that goal going in.
Spurs,
Lucas
Ajax.
Moura.
I was at home on my own because I worked the next day.
Yeah.
And then Liverpool, Barcelona.
That's
Yeah.
it, yeah.
And then Spurs, Man City.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was it.
That
Yeah.
was all in the same run. And then the final was crap, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah,
Liverpool
2-0,
Spurs.
2-0,
was that-
Yeah, because that was didn't Liverpool do them 3-0? They had to win 3-0 at home or something, and then Spurs
gave
more a
penalty
hat trick,
early
wasn't it?
doors, yeah.
That-
But there was that week, and I swear as well, I think Arsenal made it into the finals of the Europa League. There was a week where all the football was mad.
Yeah,
I
and
remember.
it was like, it was insane. So yeah, that week, but that Spurs Ajax game, I was a massive fan of Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
So Spurs for me at that time were all right. As in, like, I didn't have this like burning hatred for them because Maurizio Pochettino made them so much more attractive to me. Oh, not that much more attractive.
You shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff. Come on.
Pochettino had long hair at one point. I've seen a picture of Pochettino with long hair.
Been that. There
Right, Ben, I've done my research.
Yeah, I know. I thought
There's
so.
a picture of him, PSG. Ronaldinho's in it as well. Have you
Yeah,
seen that
that
one?
would be
They're all lined
back
up.
then kind of
God,
thing.
he looks like a model.
Yeah.
There's also, I'm going to prison. there's also,
This is pre-edited. Don't worry, we'll edit it.
if you do a deep dive like you did last night on Maurizio Pochettino, he once did a nude shoot.
No, he did not.
I haven't.
100% you've seen it. Don't lie.
It's covered up. It's like a side kind of.
Okay.
A bit of
hair.
botty though, a bit of bottom, yeah?
A side angle
Yeah?
at the bottom, yeah.
Okay.
He looks like a.
No elephant
God.
trunks.
Nah, he's Argentinian, isn't he? Yeah, they do. They wear those naughty little Speedos and stuff out there. And I
sorry.
don't know.
I don't know what
Where
you
the
That's a tangent.
Yeah, that's
a
what I'm
tangent.
saying.
From the best football game we've ever seen.
I'm with you though, Laura. That
Sorry,
was
Maurizio.
that Tottenham one. It was the start of it as well, I think. And then that Lucas Moura goal going in. Oh my
was
god,
amazing, wasn't it?
bonkers. And I was a
was
bit of
the-
a Tottenham fan as well, so
yeah.
it was mad.
Right, Fozzy, have you got
are you?
some?
Yeah, I was a bit of a. Well, as a kid, yeah, because my brother was a Tottenham fan, so I was always brought up as a Tottenham fan.
I'm Arsenal, but I'm going for the whole week.
Yeah,
not
I
just-
agree. I'm
right?
with you.
'Cause
I'm
then
with you.
Arsenal, I can't remember who
It was a
beat.
mad week.
Yeah, Europa League final, great week. Anyway.
Yeah.
Are you going to finish off some quick fires?
I thought that's what we
This
were
is
doing.
quick fire,
These
isn't
are
it?
supposed to be
These
the
are
quick
like
fires.
mid to long
Sorry.
fires, I think these are.
Who is the most famous person that Laura Woods has met?
Ronaldo,
Yeah?
probably. Yeah, I'd say.
Real Ronaldo? Or
CR7.
Yeah. CR7. Yeah,
Yeah.
not.
Not the GOAT.
Not voluptuous Ronaldo.
Voluptuous.
Yeah.
R9.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's
Bigger. It's
disrespectful
fine.
to say
It's fine. Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Who was your idol growing up? Did I ask you this already?
Ray Parlour.
Ray Parlour. Honestly, was he?
I
Was he
promise
honestly?
you, Ray Parlour. Like,
Oh, that's class.
FA Cup final
it's
goal.
ridiculous.
FA
In
Cup final goal.
2002,
Yep.
Cardiff.
It's the first time we've had Ray Parlour as an idol growing up. But I take it, mate.
Such
Each
a
to their
weird
own.
guy. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. Do you have any hidden skills? Yes, that's a yes. I love it. I love it. It's a yes.
No,
Just spat a drink out.
Yeah.
no good ones. Like none that you go, wow, she's
Talented. Like, yeah.
Are we talking like bar stuff here that you can like down a pint or you'll do a load of shots and still be cool?
Yeah, I will stay
Solid drinker?
upright constantly.
No matter what?
No matter what. Even if my functions are gone.
Yeah.
Good skill, that.
I will always stay. I can touch my nose with my tongue.
Nice.
That's the level we're at. That's
Yeah.
crap, isn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, so no is the answer.
Yes, it's a resounding no. Sorry.
Right, we're going to go, and you're probably going to have to think about this one, but if you could live a day in the life of anybody, anywhere, ever, who would it be?
I'd love to do something completely different to sport. Like, I'd love to go and be like an actress on like a proper high-end Hollywood set.
An A-lister,
You're
a big bad boy, yeah,
You're
yeah.
working with like Leonardo DiCaprio or something
Julia
like
Roberts
that.
or so. Like one of the...
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the proper superstars, and then go to like my own premiere and sit and be like, "Oh, I'm good, aren't I?"
Look at me, I'm
Wouldn't
the
that be great?
shit. Look at me.
Or go and be like a J-Lo or a Shakira at the Super Bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'd have to have their talents, otherwise, can you imagine?
Have you seen that video? Shakira dancing around, by the way.
Looks like
Shakira's
she's 20.
What, she 40 something?
What she doing now?
Incredible.
Yeah.
She did there's a video
Ridiculous.
of her dancing around. Honestly, she looks like she's about 20. She's a joke.
Don't
Absolute
be funny.
joke.
She's incredible.
Yeah. I think we're good. I've got a million others, but honestly, you've been absolutely top class, Laura Woods, and thank you. We
so
finally
much.
got there. We finally got there. It's been a lot of planning, a lot of cancellations, mostly
I
on
know,
our part, to
sorry.
be perfectly honest with you. But really enjoyed that. You are a
Thank
Thank you so
superstar.
much. Before we sign off, every episode until he comes on, I just have to give Craig Dawson the weekly call. Craig Dawson, you've still not been on the Fozcast. We want Ballon Dawson on. Come on, ring your mate. Come on.
I think Dawson's in France at the minute. I'm pretty
Don't
sure he's
care.
got
We'll do
West
it on
Ham,
Zoom.
but we'll get it sorted. As always, though, Laura, I will look into that camera if you could do it into that one, and I'll go first. Tom, then you. Up the Fozcast.
Up the Fozcast.
Up the Fozcast.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Brilliant.
guys.
Cheers, Laura. That was great.
Fun.
Thanks everybody for watching. We hope you enjoyed the latest episode of the Fozcast. Don't forget to give us a follow on Spotify. Up the Fozcast.